Hey everybody, welcome to Unbleach Your Curriculum 2. Today I'm having technical problems, so you would not believe what's been going on with me, but for me to turn this on and have it going, I've had to go to another location, so please bear with me as I get started. I'm so glad everybody's here. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Can everybody hear me? Last time I did this, I was on mute for like 10 minutes. It's crazy. So can you hear me? Just tell me hello, hola, so you can hear me. All right. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, share screen. Yes. Okay, great. So now we could finally get started. You're going to see me looking to the side because I have to look at another screen right next to me. So sorry about that. I'm still a baby at this technology stuff. Anybody here with me? Anybody can say amen, amen. I can't believe this. I've practiced it so many times and still it's not right. But let's go ahead and get started with Unbleach Your Curriculum number 2. Now, if everybody who had registered, they clicked on a link on the post and you can register. It costs $20. It's free to watch it, but $20 includes your PD certificate and all the resources that I have for you, okay? Also, this is not just this session. I have a session today and next Saturday. So the $20 covers this Saturday, today, with all your resources, and next Saturday with all your resources. So it's never too late to join. And on top of that, if you want all the resources I have for Unbleach Your Curriculum Part 1, I will send that to you too upon request. So I think it's a cool deal. I hope you do too. So tell me where you're from. If you're going to say hola, let me know where you're coming from, what state, what country. I'm so excited to see everybody. Angela and Monica, thank you. Make sure that you press give StreamYard your permission to use your name, because right now I have a bunch of Facebook users and I don't know your name. Hola, Manuel, how are you? Okay, so here we go. We're going to keep on going to the next slide. Let's see. I think I could do this. Okay, so why should you unbleach your curriculum? So there's a long little thing. I know you can't see it, but I'm just going to talk about it. So I love bleach. You know, bleach is used to whiten your clothes, right? And I like the smell of it when I clean the clothes, and makes my house feel so assured, like if everything is disinfected. Like, is there anybody out there that feels the same way? Some people are allergic to bleach, like my daughter, Ariel. She's allergic to bleach. So when she leaves the house, that's when I bleach everything. By the time she comes back, everything's good. But I don't like the stains on my clothes, so that's why I use bleach. But you know what? Nobody uses bleach on colorful clothes, right? Because that just ruins the clothes. So with that analogy like that, how can we use it for education? When it comes to education, do you think that we bleach our curriculum? When you go to Google and you Google certain things, is it just a certain race of people that come up, the majority? You know, I definitely would not want to bleach my daughter's quinceañera dress. That would totally ruin it. So totally ruining the way a student sees their culture and the Spanish language would be like bleaching it. So why would we want to hide our colors? Why do we bleach our colors? Do our classrooms include the whole picture and a true representation of what your language that you teach is? Are you including Spanish? Are you including European, Indians, Africans, Arabic, Asian, and any other ethnic group? Can kids relate to Spanish or any language that you're teaching with what you're providing? So here I am. I'm going to show you how. But with showing you how, you first got to be true to yourself, open your hearts, and make sure that you know that you're attending this session today means that you care. And I appreciate you being here. So my name is Jenniffer. If you happen not to know, my name is Jenniffer, and my mom calls me Jenniffer. My dad too. Jenniffer is so I used to think that was the ugliest thing ever, but now I accepted it. They call me Jenniffer. What the heck? I can't just erase that. But anyway, I'm a Spanish teacher at the Donahoe School in Anniston, Alabama. It's a rural community where usually I am the minority in many settings. And I have a page called Afro-Latina Teacher on Facebook. You could like it if you'd like, or if you're watching it on here. And I also have a group called Incorporating Afro-Latino Culture in Spanish Classrooms. And I also have an Incorporating African Culture in World Language Classrooms. So all I'm trying to do here is just show the world that Black people can speak Spanish, because a lot of people don't know that. They just don't. So I'm so excited that you're here with me, and here we go. We're gonna get started here. So let me talk about the common belief. Okay, this is something that a lot of teachers have told me before. They said, well, I don't think of my students in terms of their race or their ethnicity. I am colorblind when it comes to my teaching. And is this something that you might think to yourself? Do you think that you're colorblind by any chance? Because when teachers say that they are colorblind, they're usually saying that they don't discriminate and that they don't treat all their students equally. So when race and ethnicity are ignored, teachers miss the opportunity to help students connect with what's being taught. So in my classroom, personally, I teach a predominantly white students. I have some kids from Pakistan, I have kids from Vietnam, and I have a few African-American students. Now, I look at my classroom with all my students. Somehow, I need to make a curriculum that's gonna fit Vietnamese, African-American, Pakistan too, and white. Okay, now with the white, I have no problem because everything is already, the books, all the literature, even YouTube. I get a lot of messages saying, hey, Jenniffer, I don't have anything on YouTube that says, that's saying greetings, or any Spanish teacher that's teaching Spanish that's not white. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm trying to work on that. But it's true. It's like when we Google things on Google, we find that most of the resources we have are either provided by white teachers, or they are the people that are seen on the screen are white. Nothing wrong with that. Not trying to crash anybody's boat or anything. I'm just saying we need more diversity in every aspect, especially when we're teaching Spanish. It is horrible when kids grow up and they think that only white teachers can speak Spanish. Or when they see, like my husband, he's Panameño. When he speaks Spanish, everybody's like, oh my gosh, this Black guy, he's speaking Spanish. Oh my gosh, he's so smart. But really, he is smart. He's a genius. The only thing is that that's his native tongue, and people don't get that. Now, how important an individual's race and ethnicity is to their identity will vary, and teachers need to take that into account as they seek to learn more about their students. You have to care. Open your heart. I think Madonna sung a song called Open Your Heart to Me. Anyway, I'm not going to sing because I can't sing. But anyway, some questions for you to consider. What are some ways for educators to acknowledge students' ethnic, cultural, racial, and linguistic identities? How do you acknowledge? How do I acknowledge my Vietnamese student? My Vietnamese student has nothing to do with Spanish. So, gee, what do I do there? I care. I care about my students from Vietnam. I ask them questions. I involve them in my curriculum. If I have to have a discussion about, if we have discussion about identity or community or travel, I'm going to include Vietnam in there, and we're going to discuss these things in Spanish. I also try to find a common ground with Vietnamese and Spanish, and me and the Vietnamese have something in common, and that is that we're both immigrants. Now, I do have a Vietnamese student that she was born in the US, so she's not an immigrant, but she feels most comfortable with me. I don't know why. Why do you think? Not because I'm an immigrant so much, but because I've given her so much importance. I think she's special. She's important. I ask her about her family. What is it like in Vietnam? What is it like to be a student at the school where I teach? I just try to make her feel comfortable. And this is how we can bridge that gap between the students' cultural identity and our language. All right, number 2. And I want you guys to be thinking this. I wish you could talk to me. Yes, connection it is. Talk to me. send me a comment on Facebook here and tell me any of the answers to these questions that you might have. So what happens when teachers don't validate their students' racial and ethnic identities? And the first thing that comes to my mind is teaching at an all-Black school, okay? You teach at an all-Black school, and if all your resources look like they're white, or let's say they're bleached, they totally ignore the Afro-Latinos in the Spanish classroom, the Black kids will not be able to connect. They're just not gonna see it. They're not gonna see that there's actually Black people that speak Spanish. So what is the connection? How can you connect them to the curriculum? There's no way. But if you go ahead and you show that there are Afro-Latinos out there, and even if, and I'm talking about Afro-Latinos because it's relevant to me, but if you teach any language, you teach Dutch, French, Portuguese, all of these languages have people of color that speak that language. You need to have that tie between that language and the people of color, or else it's gonna be just, they're not gonna be able to relate in any way. So it's true. We do need to accept their culture. That's true. Thank you for participating there. I have a Facebook user. I don't know their name because Aisha. Thank you, Aisha. I recognize your name. I know I recognize your name. Okay, so, oh my goodness. You know I'm very dramatic, so I have to go like this. But I had okay, so this is what I did, okay? I went ahead and, just told the students that, listen, I know that all this going around the world with Black Lives Matters and everything with that's going on out there, I know that you feel uncomfortable, and I know you need to talk about it. So, hey, I'm here. Here I am, raising your hand. I tell them I'm the customer service representative for Spanish class because I'm the only Spanish teacher in the school. So I'm like, hey, I'm your representative. So if you ever have any questions that are weird, that you think they're a little racist, that you think that I'm going to get offended, I will never get offended with whatever you say. I'm never going to get offended. Please ask me all the questions you have about these weird topics that are going on with systematic racism, with white privilege, whatever you want, just ask me, because it's better for you to have another point of view. And the reason I did this is because I don't know who my students have as a reference as far as being Black. Okay, so if you're not Black, it's okay. They still need somebody to talk to about these issues. They can't just keep it to yourself and then randomly just have an opinion that they got from the street, and then that's what they focus on. We don't want to do that. I don't want to. Those are my students. Lord forbid they leave my classroom and they're racist, and they probably are, but there's nothing I could do. At least I did my best to help it, to stop it. So these are questions that a student asked me, and what would you say? Ask these questions to yourself, and what would you say in this situation, okay? Now, I'm a person that prays a lot, so before they asked me the questions, I was like, Lord help me. But I'm so glad that everything turned out all right. So first question was, why do Black lives matter when Black people destroy their own selves? Oh my gosh, really? Yeah, and Black people are the ones that commit the most abortions, and yeah, they why do they matter? Okay, you're a teacher now. You could get fired if you answer this the wrong way, okay? Remember, I had to pray before he even sat in front of me, or she, whoever the student is. But I thought, you know what? A lot of people are self-destructive. In every race, there's a lot of self-destructive people. I said, remember that Blacks are not the majority in this country, okay? So if you're looking at statistics, it's not really matching there. Okay, there's more whites that do abortions, or there's more of these, but you need to understand, people make their own choices. They decide what they want to do. We are not going to be the ones to destroy any Black lives. Are you a person that wants to destroy Black? No, I don't want to, but why do they matter? I don't understand. And I said, you know what? You know why they matter? Because they never mattered. Can you find a time in history when they mattered? And this is a lot of quietness and just awkwardness, but I was confident in what I was saying. I was like, have you seen it matter? Has it happened to other races where they look at a white person and they get lynched? But that's history, Senora White. That's history. That's not happening anymore. That history is not as bad as today. Well, do you know that? Do you know that? Do you have experiences that back up your statement? Because nowadays, to write a paper, to write an essay, I need resources, or the teacher's gonna give me an F for plagiarizing, right? So what experience do you have that tells me that they don't matter? And he just had to sit there, and I had to relate. I had to look at the kid as a whole and say, I personally know this kid. I don't personally know the kid, but the person is a student, and I know that the person is a person that's very religious. And I said, well, do you think that will be something in your faith that would be acceptable? And then that's when the kid has to change his mind and say, oh, no, that would not be acceptable. Sometimes kids and adults here, we separate what we believe with our cultural and our religious beliefs. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm not trying to get into that. But a lot of students are religious, but it's not really in the heart. It's something that's been a tradition and they've been doing it. But the leaders of their faith would never allow or would never agree with something like this. Okay, so he was like, okay, good. Well, then this person went on to ask me, told me, there's no such thing. There's nothing you could say to convince me. There's nothing, but there's no such thing as systematic racism. And I said, really? Okay, so have you experienced any racism at all? Well, playing basketball, I'm a person that's not of color. So, the black kids make fun of me because I can't jump, because I can't play basketball. So, I was like, that's, well, okay, if you felt like that, I understand that. But the system is something that you understand this when you get a little older. Okay, I said this systematic racism, I did not get it till I was grown. Okay, I gave an example of like my favorite artist, Juan Luis Guerra from the Dominican Republic. He would sing this song and he would say, ay, negra, and he would say, negra, negra. So in my brain, I thought, oh, black people are beautiful because he says they're beautiful. And black people are okay in the Dominican Republic because Juan Luis Guerra says they're okay. So for me, it was like term of endearment, black people. Yes, never. I never thought in my mind that there were racism in my country, that there was racism in the world. I really didn't until I grew up. And then I realized, oh no, I am part of a system that tells me that white is better. White is that lighter skin is better. Straight hair is better. When people are giving me money to straighten my hair, because this thing right here, oof, you see this? This is crazy. That thing right here is just not gonna cut it. It's not professional. Then I realized, wow, okay, I'm part of a system that does not accept the African look or people of color. And I could continue to ask the student, have you felt this way? Have they not accepted you because of that? I'm a girl. Sometimes I go to the store and try to find, foundation, makeup, my color to fit my color, and I can't find it. It's kind of light. I have to mix it, to mix the colors or something to get. Sometimes I look like, not that I got a tan, but that I'm trying to bleach my skin, and, I'm trying to make it like a joke because it's not, I don't want them to feel like I'm attacking them in any way. This is all out of love, and I care about them. And constantly when we have these uncomfortable conversations, we have to do it out of love. And we have to show the students that we do care about them no matter what they believe. Now, the student asked me if I believe in the Black Lives Matter organization. And I said, well, you know what? I looked into that organization and I read some things and, but I like the name of it, Black Lives Matter. I like the name. And I think I'm going to stick to liking the name, and I agree with the name. Okay, so this is a way of not giving your opinion directly, because sometimes students will take what you say and tell their parents. So you never know what they're going to say. You know how it is. You are teachers and you know how students just take what we say and change it around. So I said, I like that phrase, Black Lives Matter. And to me, Black Lives Matter means Black Lives Matter too. All the lives matter, but Black Lives Matter too, because for so long it seemed like they didn't matter. So I think this is why they named it that organization. But I do not know these people personally, but I just love that name and I defend that name. So, kid is just shaking his head like this. All is well. I'm sweating under my arms. I'm just like so nervous answering these questions. But I know that as a teacher, I'm responsible to be able to give answers to students. And sometimes if you don't know an answer, it's better to say, hey, I don't know. Maybe I'll come back later and tell you. But I'm grateful that I did have an opinion about these things and that I was in a situation where I could tell them. So this was the most difficult part. The student proceeded to try to convince me that George Floyd was not killed because he had a knee to his neck. He tried to convince me that, oh, he was already sickly. He had a drug problem. He had drugs in his mouth, and this is what. So they're making a big deal about this. It's too much. And I'm like, okay, so let me ask you this question. If someone did that to your brother, because you have to keep connecting kids with their family, because if you don't connect them with their families, they don't understand. That's how sometimes I talk to my son. I'll tell my son, hey, do you want your sister to have a guy like that? Like you're treating this girl, would you like your sister to be treated like that? And that's when it's like, oh, like clarity comes, the clouds go away and they can finally see and reason better. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right, Mom. So I always have to go back to talking about sisters or brothers. So I said, would you like that to happen to your dad, to your brother? What if this happened? Can you put yourself in those shoes right now? If this happened to your dad and everyone's saying, oh, he had drugs in his mouth, would you defend your dad, or would you be defending those people saying, yeah, you're right, my dad did have drugs. Yeah, it is his fault. Yeah, this is. So I tell him, okay, if that's true or not, it's not right. Okay, was that right? No, it wasn't right. Well, yeah, it wasn't right. And it's all because of the intensity of the nation. We're on quarantine. We're dealing with a lot of stuff. A lot of other Black cases have been happening with deaths of innocent people that, enough is enough. Eventually you blow up and you're like, that's enough. Have you ever felt like enough was enough? What does a kid say to that? Yeah, my little brother, he just always irked my nerve, and he's always irking my nerve. And when he irks my nerve, I just go ahead and just say enough is enough. And I said, what do you do when enough is enough? Oh, well, I hit him or I do something. Okay, well, see, this is what happened, and this is a nationwide thing, and then it ended up being a worldwide thing because everybody else rose up and said enough is enough. So George Floyd is just an example of enough is enough. It doesn't matter how he died or what happened. It does matter. I cried when this happened. I did. It really affected me a lot because when that happened, I thought, is my husband next, or my cousin, or anybody in my family, are they next? And I told my students that. I said, it hits home. Sometimes when I talk to my students like that, where it hits home and I'm a little personable with them, they too kind of stand back and say, if that happened to Senora White's husband, I don't think that would be fair either. So it's only because George Floyd, we don't know him, and some people really don't care. But we need to understand that no matter what happened with George Floyd, or really what happened, the families is affected, and the whole nation and the whole world was affected by that. So what would you say to something like that? Because that's some strange and difficult questions and difficult answers to answer. So just remember, though, if you can't answer it, just don't. And there is a counselor at every school. The world language teacher is not a counselor. I am by no means a counselor. So I always do say, hey, if you want to, you can speak to the counselor. The counselor is available at all times. And I personally went to the counselor and told the counselor about this conversation. And anything that I tell the students that can be controversial, I tell the counselor just so that I am safe. Okay? Because I don't want to get fired, just like you don't want to get fired, right? Okay. Oh, I'm reading what people are saying here. I have a list from Asia, Middle East. I also have Hispanic and Black students. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You have to relate. That's good, Angela. That's true. And Monica says, it's so hard for... Let me see if I can share that quote. I don't know how to do that. I forgot how to show that quote. Oh, there it is. I hope you guys can see that. It's still hard for my students. They live where it happens. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. I mean, I had a hard time with it. Like I said, I just did. And I can't imagine where you live for that to happen. It's something that's really hard. But just remember that as a teacher, most students love you. most students like you. So always know that they trust you, and you can always, be there for them and tell them if they want to talk, that at least you'll be in a listening ear. So thank you for sharing that, because that is so true. These kids are living it. I'm in Alabama. We haven't had anything crazy like that going on here, but I'm ready if something like that happens. Okay, so how am I at fault? What mistakes do you make? Now, let me tell you something. I preach Afro-Latino. This is what I always preach, because I'm trying to always bring an awareness to teachers, students, and even my Hispanic friends, because I've realized that even a lot of Hispanics, Latinos are very ignorant when it comes to this topic. When it comes to Afro-Latinos, they don't even know. And I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But what mistakes do you make? This is the mistakes I make. I'm going to share. I'm opening my heart to you, and I'm letting you know. When I'm in a hurry and I Google images to add to my curriculum, like, I like adding pictures to everything. Sometimes, I just put in whatever's first. I'm at fault there. I should have really looked at things better instead of just throwing the stuff in there, When I give my students an assignment, I'm not specific in telling them to think out of the box. So, for instance, we had a family unit, and this was the first unit in the quarter for Spanish 2. And I told them, okay, make your slideshow, put pictures of families. And I had to physically tell them, hey guys, don't forget, there's a lot of different families out there. Please include Asian families, families from Middle East, Black families, white families, because the kids, what are they going to do automatically? They're automatically going to search Google and put white families on all the slides. I said, not in my classroom. No, nobody. I do not tolerate that. I tell them like that. I do not tolerate that we're going to bleach everything. We're going to put the variety of families that we see on TV, on the street. No, everybody is not white. I'm sorry to tell you that. Okay, your world is a little bigger than what you think. And then it was so funny because they had to put, I don't remember what activity it was, but they had to put a picture of a Moroccan person, because we were reading Hasta la Sepultura from Christy Plácido. And the kid did his slideshow, and he put Yusuf as the main character, and he's from Morocco now. He put a white guy as Yusuf, and I just freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, no way. What is that? And I don't mean to my kids, they don't get embarrassed anymore, because I had to gradually get like this with my students. I couldn't just be yelling like this. But I said, oh my goodness, does this look like Yusuf? Think about it. Yusuf is from Morocco. That's in Africa. If he's not white, I know Africa, there are these white Africans. I told him that, yes, there is white Africans. But the way they describe him in the book, he is not white. So he picks out this really ugly black man to put in. He Googled just a random black man and puts a black man that's there, and the man is not good looking at all. And I'm like, oh my God, there's no way. I said, please, if you're going to have a representation of a culture, give the best representation, okay? Because if everybody else looks good and then you're gonna put that black guy that doesn't look good, I'm offended, okay? So he went ahead and he changed it, and he put that guy, that star from he was in that hero movie. I don't remember people's names. I'm so horrible at this. He was in this movie where he was a lawyer and he was defending like this case that was a racist case of black people that were in jail. But anyway, this guy, he was very good looking. He had cuts in his stomach and everything. So this student happened to be a football player. He got him with his cuts. I'm like, what? Okay, yes, the guy looks good, but please make sure he has a shirt on. Anyway, I'm too picky with my kids, but now the expectation by the time they get to Spanish 3, they know, okay, I gotta make sure there gotta be different colored people in there. They better be looking good or looking normal, not like horrible, deformed. It's like all that is okay, but I'm just saying, it's like, what are they thinking in their mind? Are they thinking that black people are ugly? I'm not trying to be offensive about what people look like, and on magazine covers we always see these beautiful, perfect people and stuff. I'm not trying to go there. I'm trying to say that in their mind, if everybody else looks perfect, why is this person not looking perfect? That's what I mean by that, because I don't mind the diversity of the different looks and everything. I hope you get me with that. Okay, so for Hispanic Heritage Month, I think about my childhood and I think about artists that I love the most. So, hey, I'm going to tell you from the top of my head, when I think about who are the people that I love the most, I love Selena. Love talking about Selena Quintanilla and what she's done with Tejano music, how she just changed everything and how she didn't speak any Spanish and she still made it to be super famous, and she was such a sweet person, made an influence. Okay, her. Gloria Estefan, because she's the queen of the conga. Like, really. I do the conga in my class every Hispanic Heritage Month. So I pick her, pick Selena. Then I pick Los del Rio, which is the Macarena people. I can't forget them. They're part of it. I gotta do the Macarena. Okay, those 3 people are already light-skinned Hispanics, okay? They're already super famous, light-skinned Hispanics. Then I have to think to myself, oh no, wait, I forgot. I gotta put an Afro-Latino. Oh my gosh, which one am I gonna get? Oh, do I have a favorite Afro-Latino artist? Yeah? Yeah. Oh, Don Omar. Okay, let me put Don Omar in there. Okay, but look, it took me a process, and I consider myself Afro-Latina, and it was like a process for me to take that out of my head. So just to let you know that I also have this systematic thing inside of me that tells me that my favorite ones were the lighter skin ones. And I was watching John Leguizamo's show. It was one of these, it was one of his stand-up comedies called, it was called Latin American History for Morons. And it's mature, it's not for the students to watch. But I watched that, and one thing that he said was that his therapist asked him, hey, who's your hero? And he started naming all these people that are white. And then he realized, oh my goodness, I've been sucked in the system to think that white people are better. Now, let me explain myself about that too, because there's a lot of people who, like, that's what you see. That's exactly what you see. You're surrounded by this, so it's not your fault. It's not my fault that those are my favorite artists. I really like them. I'm not thinking, oh, because they're white, I like them. No, it's because those are the ones that stand out the most, and those are the ones I like. I love Daddy Yankee. I mean, everybody I see is like, everybody that's flipping through my brain right now, they're all light-skinned. I have to really dig and think, okay, there's Don Omar in there, and there's some other artists that I can't remember right now, but I do love them too. So they are important as well. So I don't want you to feel, I'm not trying to bash you and think, oh my gosh, I don't think like that, I'm so horrible. No, we all think like that because we're all part of the system that made us think like that, or elevated these people the way they did. So it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Okay? Don't worry about it. Oh, yes, Angela, you're so right. Actually, Angela's saying, let me share her comment right there. You have to be mindful of blended and alternative families. I actually went over that. I didn't share that with you because I didn't share with my family unit. But what I end up doing with the families that we're discussing, what are the different types of families today? And that's what they're speaking this in Spanish. the blended family, the single parent family, the foster parents, the same-sex families, all of those families, they had to make a list of those and they discussed them. So yes, thank you for reminding me that I did mention that to my students, because I don't want them to think that those are the only families that they have, or families of just mom and dad. Because the school I work at is very traditional. Mom and dad, very involved. If they're divorced, they would both be involved. It's just a beautiful thing, because the school I go to, that I teach at, it's an independent school. People pay for this school. So it's not acceptable to not be involved in your kids' life. So they're always involved in their lives. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for reminding me. All right, so learn more about yourself. I have a resource for you where I want you to take this quiz. This quiz is a pain in the butt. I did not like it. And I'm going to tell you what I thought about it. It's called Project Implicit. Sometimes I can't speak English. Project Implicit by Harvard University. You click on that, look it up, take the test. It's a bunch of tests. You could do a test where it has to do with gender, have to do with fat versus thin. It's a lot of them. But I picked the one where it's light skin and dark skin. And the way it went is that there's 2 columns and you have to categorize the words. So first it tells you dark-skinned people on this side and light-skinned people on this side. And it'll say, it'll have pictures of dark and light-skinned people. So you categorize them where they go. You go, okay, dark skin, I'll put them here. Oh, white skin, I'll put them here. And I'll just keep categorizing. Then it elevates to words. Then it says positive and negative. Okay? So you have words that say something like wonderful, spontaneous, annoying, and you have to categorize those words in certain. So since you're used to putting categories like this, it's confusing. I did it from my phone and I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Okay, the worst part was when they put words and people in the middle so that you can categorize it. So the dark-skinned people were on this side at one point, now they're on this side. And the light-skinned people are on this side. So in my brain, dark skin is here, light skin is here. So when they put the choices in the middle, you have to hurry up and sort it. Oh my goodness. So can you believe the result that I had? Now let me tell you my background here. Grew up in the Dominican Republic. In my brain, everybody in my head is black, okay? If you call me on the phone and I don't know who you are, if you're an operator, to me, you're black. Like you imagine the person and I'm like, okay, that person's black. You know, I'm not saying that, but subconsciously, they're black. Everybody in my brain is black. I mean, it's just crazy. That's who I grew up with, and I'm so used to it. My granddad, my favorite person in the world who passed away, he's really, really, really dark-skinned. Love that man to death. I spend so much time with him. So to me, everybody is black, okay, in my head. All right. Well, this test said that I prefer light people over dark-skinned people, and I got really mad. I was like, oh my gosh, I told my husband, honey, that's weird because in my head, everybody's black. He's like, well, you've been working at a school where everyone's white, and we've been living in a community where it's predominantly white. So this perception is probably changing only because of that. Then he started asking me questions. Now, you don't like it when people ask you those hard questions. You just don't like it because you get offended, and you don't like getting offended, but offense is okay because then you have to look in yourself and say, is that true? So my husband asked me, have you ever dated a really dark-skinned person? And I'm like, no. Do you have dark-skinned friends? Yes. Dark-skinned friends, yes. But dark-skinned person never dated? No, I didn't never dated. Now, my husband's dark, but he said he was lighter when I liked him when I was younger. He was a lot lighter. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? What, do I prefer lighter skinned people than darker skin? I just want to be in the middle. I just want to prefer both. How can I just be like that? Well, just let me tell you, after beating myself up for a few hours, then I said, you know what? I'm just going to accept this and just be more mindful. And I'm going to just be careful that I don't treat anybody better than others. I'm gonna watch myself. How do I treat this one versus this one? Just gonna be more careful. Sometimes you need to be told the truth like that. And yeah, it hurts your feelings and you get mad. You just have a fit. It's okay, have a fit, get mad, but then come back and grow. Just don't stay right there. Because sometimes we we get stuck in one spot because we don't want to grow. But anyway, try to take that test and send me a message how it went. But I'm going to share that with you as well. Okay, so let your students also get to know themselves. I have a sheet that I'm sharing with you as well with all anti-bias resources, and they're for teens, for little kids, for elementary school students, for adults, and for yourself. So I want you to look at that as well. Okay, so this is another what would you do scenario. And I know you can't read that. That's so small. I'm looking at it here. That is so small. But anyway, so this teacher sent me this message, and I have her permission to share this. So I'm going to read it to you, and you tell me what would you do. So I wanted to ask you for some advice, as I'm not a native speaker of Spanish. I teach in a private independent school in Boston where the majority of the students, all girls, are white. But we do have Black, Indigenous, people of color students. We have had teachers both in Spanish and French being criticized by students because they presented materials to the class with the word negro to describe Black people, as if they were using the N-word. Obviously, students failed to understand, and the teacher failed to explain efficiently that in Spanish, the word negro is an adjective that describes Black people, and it's also used as a term of endearment, like in Celia Cruz's songs. I hope I'm not wrong in what I was taught. So my dilemma as I start my new year, and I have an identity unit in Spanish 1, and a unit on sugarcane in Cuba in Spanish 4, where we talk about slavery, is how do I make my students clearly understand that the word in Spanish is not equivalent to be racial slur in English? Have you ever had that problem? How would you go about it? Thank you so much. Okay, so this teacher, she sent me this in a Facebook message, and I was just shaking my head like, okay, I'm gonna have to call her. I just can't write all this stuff. So this is my take on what she said. Okay, so apparently the word negro is something that is a word that does describe, it's a color. I see it as a color, but I only use it as a color. I don't call any people negro. This is my opinion. You guys could take it as a grain of salt. You could take it totally different. I told you I grew up where I heard songs from Juan Luis Guerra that said, "Ay, negra," you know, he's singing, he sounds so cute, and I don't know how to sing, so I'm not gonna sing to you, but I always thought, okay, negro's cool. But for some reason, the word negro never fit well with me. Let me tell you what happened to me about 2 weeks ago. Now, some of you may know I'm a pastor's wife, and the church we pastor in Alabama is Black, white, and mostly Mexican. Okay, we have all three. So we have a bilingual ministry. We were working outside, and one of the ladies said, okay, the guys were working because we're building on the church, and the ladies are cooking. So one of the ladies said, "Ay, dile a ese negro que venga aquí a comer." And I got offended. I mean, I was like, whoa. It like hit me like if she told me that. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, why is she saying that? Now, in my head, I'm always thinking, I gotta educate. I can't go there. I can't get mad. So I'm just, letting it sink in and saying, why is she not saying his name? His name is not that. And then I start thinking, okay, when they say ese mexicano, people don't get offended because that's a whole group. It's not a color in particular. It's all of them, los mexicanos. So I was just thinking all of this through my head, just so offended. I was like, man, why is this bothering me so much? Just don't like it. Well, I went on to tell the lady, hey, did you know that there's a bunch of Afro-Mexicanos? There's Black Mexicanos. And she was like, what? Yeah, you don't know about Veracruz, that there was a port in Veracruz, that's where where the Africans came, and they're the ones that built that port of Veracruz. I started giving her Afro-Mexican history, and she was like, I've never seen any Black Mexican. I said, yeah, in Mexico, if a cop stops a Black Mexican over, he makes him sing the Mexican national anthem so that he can prove that he's Mexican, because he'll tell him, no hay negros en Mexico. That's not true. That is so not true. Now, my reaction to her was in the most loving way, but I had to tell her. I had to tell her, that's yeah, you know what? You shouldn't like point out someone like that. You just shouldn't. It just sounds negative. So what I told this teacher was like, use it as a color. If it's in literature, you can't help that. But when you refer to someone, always say, oh, Afro-Dominican, Afro-Latino. That's why I say Afro-Latino about everything. Oh, Afro-Latino. Oh, this was a Afro-Uruguayo, and this is an Afro-Argentino. Or I would say that I won't say, I could say a Black Argentinian. In English, it doesn't sound that bad. But because we are in this time in the world where Black and the word negro is so sensitive, we have to have our ears up. Woof! Just go up like this every time we want to say that word negro. We just have to be very careful. Now, before George Floyd and all this happened, that would have offended me either way, because the way she said it, it's like it made it seem like if he was lesser than everybody else. Everybody else is a person and she calls him by name, but this person, she knows his name, but doesn't say, hey, el joven, or el muchacho allí, que venga a comer. Why did she have to say el negro? It was like, okay, really? Why? Anyway, that's just my issues. I don't know if you guys have issues like that with the word negro, but I advise you to just be very careful, especially nowadays, especially when it comes to students of color that hear you say the word negro, they're gonna be like, what? Now, in my classroom in Spanish 1 last week, we were going over the colors. And when I went over negro, I made them repeat it over and over and over and over and over. Just like I made them repeat amarillo because amarillo, that's just not acceptable. And I told them in my classroom, it's not acceptable to mispronounce a word that could offend somebody. Okay, you just can't. So I tell them, okay, say negro, and I write it phonetically on the board, and I say negro, es el color negro, mi teléfono es negro, and I say that. But I tell them we call them morenos, or we call them people of color, or we call them Afro-Dominicano, Afro-Latino, whatever, but let's just not go there. And I'm glad that I was able to tell her that, because I had that experience at my church like that. So let me see. Yeah, I see that you do have to explain what the word negro means. It's really important, because one kid asked my daughter, hey, give me a pass. My daughter goes to the school where I teach, and she looks Black. You look at her and she looks Black. Okay, she looks African American. And she is Black, but people perceive her to be African American. Is that better? And someone say, hey, let me have a ticket. Let me have a pass. I want to say the N word. And she's like, I don't even say the N word. So why should I give you a pass as saying that? Like, where do our kids get that idea that word, if a Black person is saying that we need a pass from a Black person so that we can say it? We shouldn't say it. If it's an offensive word, should be a bad word, and we shouldn't be saying it. So we just have to be careful. Let me see what Angela said here. Angela, thank you for your comments here. I was taught in a predominantly African American school until last year. The word can be a trigger word for some people. That is why it is important that my students see the diversity among Hispanics and Latinos. Yes, so true. Thank you. That is so true, Angela. They need to know the difference. And my husband, as an Afro-Latino, worked in a predominantly Black school. And the Hispanics that were there, which was a small minority, were Mexican. And the Mexicans there never thought that if they curse in front of my husband in Spanish, that they were going to be understood. So they would do their craziness. And then my husband would be like, ¿qué hace? No esté hablando así. Cierre la boca. And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, he speaks Spanish. And they'll ask him, where did you learn Spanish, Mr. White? It's like, that's the presumed thing. Like, where did you learn it at? Like, is that important where I learned it at? Online. It don't matter. Oh, that's my mother tongue. That's how I learned how to speak Spanish. So the kids always have to be taught. Not only kids, adults. I feel like I have a long way to go among even my Latino friends. that they're racist. They don't know it. They're racist. And then my husband is a pastor, and they'll say things like this, but they don't see my husband's color. It's like they'll be racist against Black people. My husband's Black, but they won't see my husband as Black. It's just so weird. It's like a trick of the brain or something. Like, I accept you, but I don't accept them. And it's like, we're all the same people. It doesn't make sense. Maybe accept people by the character and not by what they look. So, as we wind down here, please remember always to be honest with yourself. It's really important that you get to know yourself, be honest with yourself, know what bias is. Like here I have a picture, it says implicit biases, attitudes, stereotypes, and beliefs that can affect how we treat others. So race, ability, gender, culture, now it could be anything. Now, I always ask my students, hey, because they come in my class and they'll say, oh, Miss So-and-so hates me. She just hates me. And I'm thinking, okay, there's no teacher that hates a kid. Like, that's crazy. Like, a teacher shouldn't hate a kid. But the kids exaggerate, and the teacher's probably, I don't know how to defend the teacher, but it's like, I don't know what's going on. But I ask my students, do you feel like I hate anybody? In their lingo, because it's not really hate. Do you feel like I hate anybody? No, I don't think you hate anybody. Okay, just checking. Well, my most difficult kid that I have, I go out of my way to make sure that he feels special because I don't want to be picking on him. So the other day he broke my rain stick, and I had to just stop the class and just put my head like this because that rain stick came from Ecuador and it was beautiful, and I've had it for like over 20 years, and so many hundreds of kids played with my rain stick, and I'm like, no, please, God, no. So the kid said sorry. I said, okay. And then he keeps coming and he says, do you hate me now? I'm like, no, I would never hate you. You know, as much as I would feel like, yeah, you hurt my feelings breaking my instrument, even though after I told you not to touch it, you know, I am hurt, but no, I won't hate you. I won't hate you for that. Now, if you ever go to Ecuador, you ever pick up a rain stick for me. Okay, Senor Whyte, I'll do that. Even though he probably never go to Ecuador, but even with those biases, and I need to be able to be careful with if I prefer girls over boys. Sometimes it's not even the race. Sometimes it's just girls over boys. So my personal children, you know, I have 5 children. My girls give me less hard time than my boys. So I'm usually yelling at my boys. So I don't want to go to school and be yelling at boys. You know, they're not at fault for my issues at home or anything I have at home. I just need to be careful. So that's why I go out of my way. If there's students that do give me a more challenging time, I try to go out of my way. All right. So, and this is stuff that I'm saying from here. Do I truly believe that all students, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background, are capable of being academically successful? Do you actually believe that? Because that's really important for you to know. You think that every kid in your classroom can learn the language? Can you think that can you believe in them? Even though you think that they have a hard time, and that's definitely not their thing, because some people it's hard for them to learn another language. But can you believe in them for them to be able to acquire some language? And that's a good question to ask yourself. Now, do I have beliefs about their home lives or community that prevent me from seeing their academic potential? Ooh, that's a hard one. You know, a kid that's coming from a rough neighborhood, do you believe that kid is going to have potential at all? Any potential? You see their pattern. You saw their brother and he didn't graduate. You saw his mom and she's in jail. What do you think about the kid? Do you think he has that potential? Do you believe in that kid? And you should believe in that kid. Now, do I treat students how I want my own children to be treated by their teachers? And I say yes. And oh my goodness, this year I've had the privilege of having my daughter in my class. That is weird. So strange. I love yelling at her and telling her stupid things in her ear, like, hey, you sit there, go to the no, I just mess with her. But I just love having my kid in my class. It's just so cool to have that. I really enjoy having her there. I feel like home is in my classroom at that period of the day. Anyway, show that you care. I've always said that. Show you care all the time. Show you care. Ask. The way you show you care is, how are you? How are you doing? How's your mom? How's your dad? I remember one year I was teaching at another school, and I was a student teacher, or I was, when I was a student. And there was a student that walked in. The teacher never looked up. The teacher I was with never looked up at the kid. And the girl cried the whole period. She cried. And the teacher never noticed that the kid was crying. I was like looking at the teacher, looking at the kid. Like, then the bell rings, the kid goes out the door. And it's not my place to go after the kid and say, hey, oh my gosh. I know how bombarded we are with information every period of the day. We got to take attendance. We have to do this. We got emails coming in through there. We got text messages from the administrator. But don't forget to look at each kid in the face. That's really important, because that's how you show you care, is looking at a kid in the face, looking at his eyes. Hey, how are you? That's it. Even if that's all you can do because you're so busy. That's all you can do, at least that. I know that when I do a bell ringer, and I'm going to share with you guys in this, those who are registered in this class, I'm going to share with you some of my bell ringers that I use for Hispanic Heritage Month. And when they're doing their bell ringer, I like to go to every desk and say, hey, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo está tu mami? How's papi? How's anything that I know about them? I learned something about them. If they have a cow, or hey, how's the cow? Oh, you got 2 now? Awesome. That's cool. My goodness. You got 2 cows. That's amazing. Oh, what? Your brother got a new car. That's awesome. Oh, you want to show me a picture? These are high school students now, taller than me. Okay. If they did something, they want to show it to me. Like a little kid, like, oh, look what I did, Senora Whyte. Look, I did that. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so awesome. Can I take a picture of it? And I have pictures on my phone of kids' stuff because I show them that I care. And those little things are the things that go a long way, because when it comes time for them to be in some kind of problem or they need to talk to somebody, they're going to remember who was that person that came to them and talked to them. And I want to give you another example, that there's a teacher at my school where a student told me that he sat at his desk and he was very depressed and he wanted to hurt himself that day. But he read on the desk that the teacher wrote, hey, I saw that you had a bad day yesterday. I hope you're having a good day today. And the kid saw the writing of the teacher on the desk and automatically just snapped out of it like, whoa, she noticed that now the teacher probably couldn't see him, look at him in the face that day, but she left him a note on the desk. I thought that was so impressive. I said, ooh, I can't do that though. I don't have the time to do that, but I'm so glad she took the time. My thing is other things. What is your thing? What is your way of showing students that you care? So I'm so excited that you are here. Again, congratulations for caring, for taking the time to listening to these uncomfortable things that I have to talk about, because they are uncomfortable. Nobody wants to talk about this, but it's the reality of our classroom, is the reality of our lives. And those of you who are teaching online, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're coping with the students being on the screen and not face-to-face. I get to go face-to-face. I have to wear a mask when I teach, and I wear a shield sometimes and a microphone. But hey, when I put that microphone on, I feel like a superstar. So I start singing and it's horrible for them. So I try not to use it because it's a bad idea to give me a microphone. But anyway, I just hope that everybody be encouraged with what you're doing in the class. Remember that you are a superstar. You manage that classroom. You are the king and the queen of that classroom. You set those rules. You be consistent. You provide love and care in that classroom, no matter what the kid is, what gender, how they identify themselves, what race they are, what they look like, any handicaps. With all of that, you're a teacher. You chose this craft for a reason. You didn't choose it just to get the summers off. You chose it because you care and you actually put up with a lot. So just don't forget that you're very special. Don't forget your self-care. Take care of yourself. And next week, I'm going to continue this conversation. If you have any questions at all, if you want to put it on Facebook here so I can show it. I would love to do that. So let me see. I have a comment here. Okay, I was talking about set negro with a person that is Black, and she said that for her and her community, it is not offensive. She even says soy negra, claro que sí. In general, when we say that somebody is negro in Spain, most of the people don't say it in an offensive way, and it's not taken in an offensive way. Maybe it is offensive in America because of the way the word is used in the past. Yes, you're so right, because I have said that. I have said soy negra, but I'm talking about myself, so I'm not offensive. And I understand what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. It's true. Where I am, like you said, it's not gonna work. We just cannot say that. I could say soy negra, and I could say, "Oh, mi esposo es negro," because they know I love my husband, and they know that I'm not saying it bad. But when I hear someone say, "Oh, ese negro," and everybody else, they're categorizing them as their first name, yeah, that it just offended me, because I felt like that person was separated from the group. I would have preferred ese joven or el papá de so and so, if you don't know the name, but just the way. But I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that comment, because it's true. It's not always offensive. It's not. But in the times of today, in like the past, you're right. It is something that we need to be very careful about. And as we're hustling and bustling and being busy, being the best teacher ever, trying not to be racist, we're trying to be inclusive, we're trying to do all this stuff. Yeah, we have a lot to carry. We have a lot to carry, but just be encouraged. You're doing fine. You're doing just fine. And I'm so happy that you're here with me today. If you have any questions at all, I can wait for you to post any comments at all, because I think that was my last slide. Yeah, that was my last slide. So I appreciate you coming. Remember that I do have another session next Saturday, same time, 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to register for that, it's the same link. And you can get everything that I have for you today, and everything that I'll have for you for next week will be with that price, $20 for these 2 sessions. So thank you so much, Angela, for commenting, and all the Facebook users that are on here. I can't say the word users. Oh my goodness. I sound like I'm back in Miami or something. Sometimes I get the Alabama twang. I didn't know I had that, but people say that I sounded like an Alabamian. What do you think? You think I sound like an Alabamian? I don't know. I don't care, really. It doesn't matter. When you get old enough, you don't care anymore about things like that. But thank you so much, Manuel Mendez, Monica. Thank you. Thank you, Joshua Tree. Gracias. Thank you for coming. Desde Washington. Woo, awesome. Randy. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Aisha, gracias. I hope I'm saying your name right, Aisha. Angela, thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you don't have any questions to ask, remember, you know where to find me. You can send me a message, and I'm always willing to take the time to answer. So without further ado, I will say adios. Oh, somebody said something. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to work with teachers who care, teachers who want to be different and want to learn more about their students and just care to be different. So, gracias. Besos. I could throw you kisses, because even COVID season, virtually, you can accept kisses, right? Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you guys. I will see you next week, okay? Adios. For everybody that's seeing me out there, adios. I hope to see you again soon. Remember, don't be a stranger. Ask questions. And I will see you next week. Adios.